Number 10. Mumei Kanashige. Mumei Kanashige is the favorite sword of Miyamoto Musashi, the most legendary swordsman in Japanese history. Forged in the 14th century by the master swordsmith Kinju, this sword is said to have been used by Musashi during his famous duel with the Yoshioka clan. Musashi, undefeated in his lifetime, fought the Yoshioka clan in 1604 at the age of 20. After deciding to devote his life to the way of the sword, he challenged the Yoshioka family, a prestigious lineage of fencing masters who had served the Muromachi shogunate. He defeated the clan's head swordsman, Seijuro, and then went on to cut down the younger brother and many followers with this sword. Mumei Kanashige has a blade length of about 27.5 inches. For a sword from that time, it's unusual because it has almost no curve. With such a long and straight blade, it must have been quite heavy. Still, Musashi, known for his two-sword style, may have wielded it with just one hand. Number 9. Raikiri. Raikiri is a legendary sword known as the personal weapon of Tachibana Dōsetsu, a 16th century warlord. Dōsetsu served as the right-hand man of Otomo Sorin, a powerful lord in Kyushu, and earned the reputation as a general who never lost a battle. The sword got its name Raikiri or Thunder Cutter from a dramatic story. Around 1548, while Dōsetsu was napping under a large tree during a hot summer day, a sudden thunderstorm broke out. A bolt of lightning struck the tree. At the moment, Dōsetsu instinctively drew his sword and slashed at the falling lightning. Thanks to his quick reaction, he narrowly escaped death. After that, the sword was named Raikiri. Though it sounds unbelievable, it is said that Dōsetsu lost the use of his left leg because of this incident. The blade is also said to have some discoloration near the tip, possibly caused by the lightning strike. Despite losing use of his lower body, Dōsetsu continued to fight in battles while being carried in a palanquin. People started to call him Raijin, the Thunder God. Number 8. Izuminokami Kanesada. Izuminokami Kanesada is a famous Japanese sword best known as the beloved blade of Hijikata Toshizo, a 19th century samurai. Hijikata served as the vice commander of the Shinsengumi, an organization tasked with maintaining order in Kyoto during the turbulent times of the late Edo period, when pro-emperor and anti-foreigner factions were rising. Feared as a demon vice commander, Hijikata wielded this sword until the moment he was killed in the Battle of Hakodate, where he fought against the new government forces. After his death, the sword was returned to his family home as a memento. The blade has several chips on its edge, clear signs of fierce battles. The worn-down handle also gives us a clue about how Hijikata held the sword. It's believed that he gripped the hilt tightly with both hands close to the guard, putting strength into his index fingers and thumbs. This unusual grip matched his signature move, a powerful two-handed thrust aimed at the opponent's throat. Number 7. Usumidori. Usumidori, meaning pale green, is a legendary sword associated with one of Japan's great heroes, Minamoto no Yoshitsune. Yoshitsune was the younger brother of Minamoto no Yoritomo, the founder of the Kamakura shogunate. Yoshitsune is celebrated for his brilliant strategies and bold fighting, especially in the battles that led to the defeat of the Taira clan. Despite his heroic deeds, Yoshitsune eventually fell into conflict with his brother and met a tragic end. Before the sword came into Yoshitsune's possession, it was already known through various legends. One tale says it cut so cleanly that a neck and knees were severed in a single stroke. Another legend claims it was used to defeat a yokai known as a Tsuchigumo. Yoshitsune wielded Usumidori in many battles, including the famous Battle of Dannora, where the Taira clan was finally destroyed, marking the rise of the samurai era in Japan. Later, when relations with his brother worsened, Yoshitsune dedicated the sword to the Hakone shrine, praying for reconciliation. However, the prayer went unanswered, and he was forced to take his own life. After Yoshitsune's death, the sword remained at Hakone shrine. According to some stories, it was later used in the Soga brothers' revenge incident, one of Japan's 3 most famous vendettas. Because of its many appearances in history and legend, Usumidori is known as a cursed and mysterious blade. Number 6. Shokudaikiri Mitsutada. Shokudaikiri Mitsutada is a famous sword made in the 13th century by Mitsutada, the founder of the Osafune school, one of the most influential sword-making schools in Japanese history. This blade was the favorite Sengoku warlord, Date Masamune, who was nicknamed the One-Eyed Dragon. By the age of 19, Masamune had already conquered much of northern Japan and became one of the era's most brilliant strategists. The name Shokudaikiri, meaning candlestick cutter, comes from a dramatic tale. One day, a retainer showed disrespect in front of Masamune, who became furious and cut him down with this sword. The blade sliced through the man and even continued through the bronze candlestick behind him. Since then, the sword became known as the candlestick cutter. Unfortunately, the sword was damaged in the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 and now has the gold habaki blade color fused to the blade. Even so, it is preserved as a cultural artifact and is periodically put on display. Number 5. Suishinshi Masahide. Suishinshi Masahide was the favorite sword of Kawakami Gensai, a legendary swordsman known as one of the 4 great Hitokiri, men slayers of the Bakumatsu era. Suishinshi Masahide was a master swordsmith of the 18th century who brought innovation to the traditional art of Japanese sword making. Kawakami Gensai was a fierce supporter of the Sonno Joy movement, which opposed the opening of Japan and interaction with the West. He assassinated many political opponents and earned the nickname Hitokiri Gensai, or Gensai the Killer. However, in everyday life, he was known to be polite and gentle, and people around him described him as thoughtful and kind. This contrast in character later inspired the creation of Himura Kenshin, the protagonist of the manga Rurouni Kenshin. Gensai was largely self-taught in swordsmanship. With a small frame of about 59 inches, he developed a low, crouched stance by placing his right foot forward and putting his left knee far back. He was known for his quick, one-handed draw techniques. With his unique sword style and the sharpness of Suishinshi Masahide, he succeeded in many assassinations. Number 4. Sohaya no Tsuruki. Sohaya no Tsuruki is a legendary sword associated with Sakanoue no Tamuramaro, a famous general from the 8th century. Tamuramaro served the imperial court and led large military campaigns to conquer the Emishi people in northern Japan. He is remembered for expanding the power of the central government throughout the country. The sword was forged during a time when Japanese swords were evolving from straight blades to curved ones. Sohaya no Tsuruki has no curve and remains in the form of a straight sword, showing its age and origin. In a photo showing 3 old swords from that time, one is believed to be Sohaya no Tsuruki, but it is still uncertain which one it actually is. In ancient Japan, the Tohoku region was believed to be home to demons. Tamuramaro led 100,000 soldiers north twice to conquer the land. It is said that during these battles, he used Sohaya no Tsuruki to defeat many Emishi warriors. After achieving victory in the region, he dedicated his swords to Kiyomizu Temple in Hyogo Prefecture. Today, the swords are preserved as important cultural properties at the Tokyo National Museum. Number 3. Azuki Nagamitsu. Azuki Nagamitsu is a sword famously owned by Uesugi Kenshin, a powerful warlord of the Sengoku period. Kenshin was known as the god of war and dragon of Echigo, and he's said to have never lost a single battle in his lifetime. There's a famous story behind how this sword got its name. One day, one of Kenshin's retainers saw a shabby-looking man carrying a bag. The bag had a hole and red beans were falling out. But when the retainer looked closer, he saw something amazing. The beans were split in half. The falling beans had touched the blade of the man's sword, and it was so sharp it had sliced them cleanly in two. The retainer was shocked by its sharpness and immediately bought the sword from the man, then dedicated it to Uesugi Kenshin, who loved fine blades. One of Kenshin's most famous battles was the Battle of Kawanakajima, which took place 5 times against Takeda Shingen. The fourth battle is especially well known. In the battle, Kenshin launched a clever surprise attack and nearly destroyed the Takeda army. It is said that Kenshin charged into the enemy camp alone with Azuki Nagamitsu in hand and slashed at Shingen himself, who was holding a war fan instead of a weapon. Later, the sword was entrusted to Chorinji Temple in Ashikaga City. Today, however, its whereabouts are unknown. Number 2. Dōjigiri Yasutsuna. Dōjigiri Yasutsuna is another legendary Japanese sword, now designated as a national treasure, and it is famous for being a personal sword of the Heian-era warrior Minamoto Yorimitsu. The sword's name comes from Japan's most famous demon slaying legend. During the Heian period, young noblewomen were mysteriously disappearing from the capital. An onmyoji, a court sorcerer, discovered through divination that the kidnapper was a demon named Shutendoji, who lived in a fortress on Mount Oe in today's Hyogo Prefecture. Minamoto Yorimitsu was chosen to defeat the demon. After a long journey, he and his warriors secretly entered the demon's lair. They offered Shutendoji and his followers poisoned sake, and once the demons fell asleep, Yorimitsu used this sword to cut off the demon's head. Because of this legendary tale in Japanese folklore, the sword was named Dōjigiri Yasutsuna, which means Demon Slayer Yasutsuna. The sword still exists today and is housed at the Tokyo National Museum. Number 1. Heshikiri Hasebe. Heshikiri Hasebe is a famous Japanese sword once owned by one of the most well-known warlords in history, Oda Nobunaga. Nobunaga was a powerful leader during the 16th century and came close to unifying all of Japan. He dominated many battles with overwhelming force until he was betrayed and assassinated in 1582 by one of his trusted generals. Nobunaga's bold and ruthless personality is often summed up in a famous poem, "If the cuckoo won't sing, kill it." This reflects his merciless character. The name Heshikiri, meaning Prescott, comes from a story that perfectly shows Nobunaga's nature. One day, a monk who served under him acted disrespectfully. Furious, Nobunaga chased him. The monk tried to hide behind a shelf, but Nobunaga pressed his sword against the shelf, and the blade cut through both the shelf and the monk's body. Normally, the sword needs to be pulled or pushed to cut, but this one sliced just by being pressed. That's why it was called Heshikiri. After Nobunaga's death, the sword passed through the hands of many famous samurai. Today, it is a national treasure of Japan and is carefully preserved at the museum in Fukuoka City.